Welcome to the Unscripted podcast. My name's Corby LaCroix, and the song you're hearing right now is called Great and Mighty One, available on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. But for now, recording from the Unscripted studio, here's your host and my friend, Aaron Conrad.
Great Redeemer, God of grace, come receive our songs of praise.
Welcome back to Unscripted from my studios here in Columbus, Ohio. A very interesting conversation today. I'm really looking forward to this. Nate, could you introduce yourself and we'll go from there?
Yeah, hi, my name is Nate Deen, and I'm a film producer, and I'm currently working on a film called Brave the Dark.
Brave the Dark. That's what we're going to talk about today. But first, just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I have been in the theater film industry for 33 years. Worked in the theater mostly until recently. Last 5 years I've been doing film and decided I really wanted to tell my life story, which is what Brave the Dark's based on. But I'm a photographer as well, and just currently working on this movie and a couple others.
Couple others. Okay. This one has to be, and I really want to unpack that with you because this one has to be very obviously personal for you. Can you just walk us through, the story itself is your story, essentially. And can you just walk us a little bit through what that story is?
Yeah, so I have a pretty incredible story to tell, and I'm finally glad that I got to tell it. And I'm glad that I get to tell it in the medium of film because I just love film. I love going to the theater. I love watching film. But my story is a hard one. But I will tell you that there's a lot of redemption and hope at the end. So don't get bogged down by some of the heavy stuff. I don't want to give much away, but as a child, I witnessed some horrific things that no child should ever have to endure or see. And that caused me to distrust adults. As I grew up as an angry young teen and blamed the world, thought the world owed me for all the hardships that I went through. And found out very abruptly that the world doesn't owe you anything. You have to fight for everything. And at the age of 16, I decided to run away. I had a car and I just thought I could make it on my own. And sadly, no one ever came looking for me. And of course, a young kid on his own, without much of a good background growing up, without a lot of guidance, I got myself in quite a bit of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And did things because I was just trying to survive. I ended up living in my car for 2 years. On and off, I had friends and stuff that I lived with. Really got into some bad trouble. And if it weren't for the help of a teacher, Mr. Stan Deen, in my local high school, believe it or not, I still wanted to go to high school because, one, I had a girlfriend there, and two, I loved running track. I was on the track team. And so in order to be on the track team, you had to go to school. And so I faked everything with my coaches, my teachers, my girlfriends. Like nobody in the school knew because I knew if I got caught, I'd have to go back to the foster care system. And I really didn't want to do that. And so the film really is based on what this teacher does for me. And so that's the basis of the story. But you don't find out all of the hardships that I went through until almost the very end of the film.
Really?
Which is really cool. I wanted the audience to find out what happened to me as a child at the same time that Mr. Deen, who's helping me, finds out at the same time.
And I have to bring this up because I saw in the note, is it correct that you changed your last name to honor him?
Yeah. So in 2018, I just really felt I was the son that he never had, but he was the father I so desperately needed my whole life. And I decided to change my name to Deen. And a really good story about that is for a guy to change his last name, it's a little bit harder than for a woman. Through marriage and all that's much easier. But for a guy, you have to go through the court system a little bit harder. And so I got to share my story in front of a courtroom that had a lot of other cases waiting behind me. And so I got to share my story and everyone was just applauding at the end. And the judge said, "Mr. Deen, I'm excited to give you and allow you to change your name to Deen." So that was quite an honor.
And I hate to ask, I don't know how else to ask it. Is Mr. Deen still alive?
Yeah, no, sadly, Stan passed away in 2016.
Okay, so he wasn't alive to be there for that honor.
Yeah. We had talked about it, but again, it cost quite a bit of money, and it was just like, I'll just keep my other name. But it just didn't feel right after he passed away. I just really wanted to carry on his legacy. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to honor him for all that he did for me because we ended up being a family. He was basically my father figure until he passed away in 2016.
What an amazing moment that would have been for him. What a special moment that is. And I'm glad you guys at least got a chance to talk about it. And you also have a foundation in his name. Is that correct?
Yeah, what a full circle I've gone through, right? My whole world was a mess and it was horrible and I couldn't figure out how to deal with life on my own. And this teacher comes along who doesn't have to even help me, right? He doesn't have to do anything. He can just do what most other people said, just let the system take care of him, right? But he said, nah, this kid's not going to do well if he doesn't get help. And so he helped me heal over the several years from that childhood tragedy. And yeah, so I just felt now I want to give back. Right. And so I started the Stan Deen Foundation, which is a foundation that helps young people in need. And we're going to do it with dignity and we're going to help them get through the foster care system. We're going to help them through mental health issues if they've lost a parent at a young age or if they've witnessed things that they shouldn't have seen. And so it's just an upstart right now, but a lot of momentum, a lot of things, especially with this film, tying it in with the film. But the plan is to really just help find needs in our community and even statewide and hopefully eventually nationwide where there's needs. And if we can't handle them, we're gonna help them find the help, work with other nonprofits that specialize in those areas.
And you're in Pennsylvania, is that right?
Yes, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Amish country. I am not Amish.
As evidence of this call.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying for sure.
I get that question all the time. Are you Amish? No, I'm not Amish. Not
Nothing wrong with it.
nothing
Just,
wrong.
just don't think they probably have podcasts.
Right.
Sorry, that was off the track. But no, I really appreciate that. I think, again, I don't want to give away the film. So, well, first of all, let's give away the information for the film. Where can they get the film? Can they see it in theaters? Is it on?
Yeah, it's in its second week in theaters. So you can see it. You can go to angel.com because Angel Studios is our distribution company. And so you can find out all sorts of information on there, some discounted tickets. They're also doing a pretty amazing giveaway. And so you can go there or just go to your local theater. It's in 1,700 theaters across the country.
Wow. Did you ever think in those difficult times, you probably never in your wildest dreams could have imagined that this would be your life on the big screen and that you would be the one producing it? That's incredible.
Yeah, it's such an honor to be able to tell this story. I didn't want to tell it for most of my life until about maybe 13 years ago. Stan and I talked, Mr. Deen and I talked, and he just said, you have an incredible story. You need to tell it. And so I literally sat down and started writing my story. And maybe 6 months in, I let him read the first version, and he pretty much hated it.
That's all
He
right.
said, Nate, it's way too dark. Like, I know you've gone through a lot, but there's light in your life. Bring that in. And it really hit me that this really isn't my story as much as it is what he did for me.
Yeah.
Because he's the hero of the story. I'm not. And I'm absolutely okay with that, right?
Yeah.
What he did for me, and he literally saved my life in so many ways. And yeah, so to be able to write it with him, let him read the first draft before he passed away, and then take it from there, it's a blessing that we were able to make it happen because independent filmmaking is really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard. We shot this in 2021 in 26 days. And And we're just now getting the theater. So that tells you what the journey has been like. But I felt, man, if we can just get it in the theaters, people will start picking it up and it'll pick up some momentum because it really does have a story of redemption and hope. And that's what I want for the film. To see it on the big screen has just been unbelievable. It's so incredible.
As you were producing it, was there ever a time, first of all, it had to be so weird to watch someone playing yourself. And then was there ever a time where you'd walk over and maybe say, hey, that's actually not how I said it, or that's not really what I did there? Or did you just let it breathe and let it be its own thing?
Yeah, one of the hardest things about actors doing a real true story, especially if that person is still alive and on the set and with you, you have to agree to terms, right? So I basically told Jared Harris and Nicholas Hamilton, listen, I'm not going to say a word. Like, you guys have read the script. We've worked for 6 weeks on this thing. You know everything about me. I didn't hold anything back. You know all about Stan. I shared every video, every audio. But listen, if you ask me a question, I'll answer it honestly. And so I let them do their thing. And I think only a couple times did they come to me and say, hey, was that okay? Or did that look like that didn't feel right to me? How about you? And then I would just give them a little bit of, no. I think the big one is Stan when he's in the, for those that didn't see it. But anyway, one time there was a gesture that he was supposed to do. He didn't feel right to him. And he came off the set and he's, would that work? And I said, nah, how about this? And I gave him that point.
Yeah.
And he picked it up and he said, man, that felt right. And I said, yeah, that's good. So yeah, I tried to really let them tell the story. I literally gave them the script and said, tell my story, but keep it real. And that's what we did, which is amazing.
So do you feel like they did a great job
Unbelievable.
with that, especially being hands off like that?
Yeah, unbelievable. To be honest with you, it's really hard to tell this story in 2 hours.
Yeah.
You still have to kind of Hollywood some of it. You can't keep introducing, like my girlfriend was actually like 2 different girlfriends, but you can't reintroduce another girl.
Yeah.
So the girl at the front end isn't the same girl at the party at the end. But the audience, that's not important to the story as much as this happened and then this happened. So yes, there's not 100% accuracy, but man, I did those things. I threw a party when I shouldn't have. I jumped off a bridge. I did things that are in the film and very lifelike.
And I've heard Bart Millard talk about that as well with I Can Only Imagine, the film
Yeah.
that he, about his story,
Right.
and how weird it was, how originally he was like, no, I don't really want to. A lot of what you said, so that's very interesting that you guys both have said a lot of the same things in regard to having your story. I can't imagine my story up on the screen. Of course, I don't know that I have a story anywhere near what you have gone through. What was the relationship? I know it's so important to you. And like you said, he's the hero of the story. What was it like, for lack of a better term, was it like a slow drip in your life from him? Or it wasn't like, was there just, again, I don't want to give away the film, so I'm trying to walk around a little bit, but was it just constant input into your life that over time, can we say that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think too often we give up on people too early. We look at them, we judge them right away and say, that's a bad kid, or he's trouble. I'm just going to care about the kids in the front row instead of that kid in the back, instead of getting to know that kid in the back and say, what's going on in your world that you're not asking, you're not taking tests, you're not studying, what's going on? Can I help you? Is there something? I think for Stan, his persistence and presence in my life every day moving forward was amazing. And he never gave up on me. He never judged. He always encouraged. Even when I made a mistake, he found a way to say, listen, you made a mistake. You're going to have to deal with the consequences, but then we're going to put it behind you and you're going to move forward and you're going to make better choices. Right. So that was really incredible because change doesn't happen overnight. Like it took several years. And in fact, I'm still going through things and issues with childhood trauma and things that trigger me that make me depressed and sad for no reason. All of a sudden, you're just like, what's going on? And I think that just maybe never goes away, but I don't dwell on it. I move forward in a positive way. And that's all I learned from him. He never, like I said, he never gave up. And I think there were many times when he could have just said, you know what? I'm done with this kid. I'm moving on. But I pushed him. And I think as adults, when kids push us, we just get tired of it and say, oh, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
But really what they're doing is they're testing you. Do you really care, Stan? Mr. Deen, do you really care about me? I'm going to push every button to make sure that you care about me because then I'll know that you do.
Wow. Was it traumatizing to do the film? Because I had that question in my head. I was going to ask you that. You had mentioned that because I would think you obviously have come full circle and just are doing amazing.
Yeah.
But again, I think those moments, it's almost like going to see a therapist and they're walking back and you're digging in deeper and deeper. And there's a reason why a lot of us cry in therapy sessions. You just start exposing things.
Right.
Did you find that in doing this film?
To be honest with you, I felt a lot more healing than negative trauma.
Awesome.
I can't say that it wasn't hard. When you're writing about those hard things, you're remembering things again.
Yeah.
But in all of it, I remembered the good, even in the bad, or that I overcame it, that I kept moving forward. There were times on the set where in movies, you have to do the take 3 or 4 times sometimes. So you're seeing the same thing happen over and over. And so there were times when after the first take, it was okay. I could handle it. It looked unbelievable. It came across emotionally the way the director and I wanted it to feel. And so then I'd say, hey guys, I'm just going to step off set for a while. And I think the production team that we had on a lot of films, there's a lot of joking and carrying on and making fun of each other and all that kind of stuff. But with this film and the amount of things that we were covering and the hard topics, they protected me through it. There was not a lot of joking and making fun of things the way it is on just some sets. They understood that this wasn't an easy thing. So it wasn't too much for me. Like I said, when you can tell your story without crying or hurting, then it's good to tell your story. But if you're telling your story and it's really hurting inside and it doesn't feel right, then maybe hold back. Don't share your story yet. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's great advice. It really is. And it had to almost feel like, I think you said, healing
Yeah.
to do this and know that, hey, I can actually face this now. And probably that started early on in the writing. Like
Yeah.
you said, sitting down and writing, now you're really facing this. And then now to see it up on film on a big screen is incredible. Was there something that he ever shared with you about why did he take a shine to you? Or maybe that's in the film as well. He clearly took a shine enough that he stood, because like you said, it's so easy for us to just go, I'm done. I'm done. And even as adults, we do that to one another. What was there something?
Yeah. So I don't know that we really push it out in the film. We do, but I think he lost his mom 6 months earlier.
Mm.
And so he was actually really struggling when we first met. He and his mom were super close. He was who he was because of his mom. His mom was so generous and so kind and so giving and so loving on him. Can you imagine? I can't. I can only imagine him growing up being told that he's loved. And that he's special and that he's a good kid and that just in the ways that I wish I would have heard when I was a child instead of all of the other negative. And so he just loved on me. And I think because he lost the mom that he had loved on for so long. And I believe I helped heal him too. And I believe that Stan braved the dark as well because he couldn't get over the fact that his mom was gone and that he had to go on without her. And he couldn't get rid of her things. Months and months and months and months went by and he just couldn't. And there is a scene, I'll give it away, that he eventually gives me her room. He gets rid of the things, but we decided to keep a lot of it. And I still have a lot of her things today.
Oh, wow.
Which is awesome. And I love it. But I was able to help him heal as well. And so I think it was, he helped so many students in so many ways, but I don't think any quite the way he helped me.
Yeah, I can identify with that. I lost my mom and I was the mama's boy growing up, and she was that way, just a very generous, kind. And yeah, I really can identify with that about finding other ways to maybe pay it forward, almost on her behalf. If that, I can say that? Yeah, I can really identify that. That's incredible, man. Your story's incredible. I'm so glad that you have put this together. Can you give us a sneak peek of what you're working on next?
I'm working on other stories from people who don't have a voice to tell their story. They're too afraid to do it or so that's all I really want to give away.
That's all? That's plenty.
Yeah, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited to actually tell a story that's not personal on my end.
Yeah.
But now I have a way of looking at someone else trying to tell their story and have that empathy for them to know what they're going through. Right. I can set them up in a way to say, hey, listen, there's going to be people who want to change your story. Who are going to want to make it something that it's not. And I don't want to do that to you. If your story is worthy of being a film or being a theatrical show or a book, whatever it is, don't let others change it. Don't let others rewrite your story for you. Because they want to. And it's really hard to keep it the way that you want it to be.
Yeah. The very context of this podcast from the beginning was everybody's got a story. I started it during COVID because we were all home. Nobody had anything to do. So we just got on and talked. And that's it. Everybody's got one. And some are much harder than others. But everybody's got one, and they're never going to go out of style. We all have one, and we should share them because in doing so, we help others, and yours particularly.
Yeah, one of the things I'm doing on the Stan Deen Foundation is we're finding people that are in need of help, but we're also finding people who've gone through the help and are now on the other side of it the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to tell those stories, and we're going to start a series called I Braved the Dark.
Nice.
And so basically, we're finding these young people who've gone through it with us, who started in a bad place, who've braved the darkness of their past or whatever they're going through, and now they're through it. And so we're going to do these short films that we can share on our site so that it's not just mine. Because after a while, mine will become boring. The film will be done, it'll move on. But there's other stories that need to be told and shared and encouraged. And so we want to, but they're all going to be uplifting. I don't want to just tell dark, heavy, hard stories. There's got to be a light, redemptive ending to them that makes the people watching it go, there's hope for me. There's something that I can do. And same with Brave the Dark. Like, my hope for Brave the Dark, if you're going through a really hard time, is that you find hope and go, there, if that guy can get through that, I can find help. But also for the person that's doing well in life, like, now I'm doing well. Okay. I want to be a Stan Deen in my community. And so I'm hoping that people that view this can want to be the Mr. Deen in their school as a teacher, or a Mr. Deen in their own community. Helping those in need.
That's incredible. Are there resources available, to your point, if I see the film and maybe somebody sees it, you never know where this thing will go. Is there a place or resources, or can they maybe even contact your foundation?
Yeah. So they can go right onto the Stan Deen Foundation, which is standeenfoundation.org. And there's a sheet you can fill out. There's a hit the button if you want to share your story with us. We don't know all the answers, but what we want to try to do is help you get those answers. We're going to put you in contact with another foundation that specializes in mental health, or specializes in drug abuse or domestic violence and all of those things. I feel like we're a conduit to the ones who are already doing it really well. But I don't think people should suffer because they don't know where to go. And they don't always know where to go. So
that's great. And so you are, like you said, a conduit to other places, or it will help at least facilitate, hey, we can get you where. And so that is a great, and can you give me that address one more time?
So it's standeenfoundation.org.
And the film
and
can
Deen
be...
is 2 E's, not D-E-A-N.
Okay.
That's where people say, I've been looking, but I can't find it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's wonderful. And then the film can be found at angelstudios.com. Is that right? Is that there?
Yeah. I think it's angel.com.
Angel.com. Okay.
Yep. And then all the local theaters have it. I'm pretty sure that you won't have any problem going to your local theater and catching it in the theater.
Man, I'm proud of you. I know I've only met you here for 20 minutes or so, but I'm proud of you because not a lot of people make it out of that. Just not a lot of people make it out of that. And I've seen firsthand, witnessed that. And I've also seen firsthand even some extended family but I've also seen someone with a story very similar, very dark. Yeah. And she's doing great today. And she's raising a great family. And it's hard to break out of that. So I know how hard that had to be. I know I could probably speak for her and say there's zero chance she would want her story on a film. But your perspective has been, hopefully, it sounds like healing for you as well. And the fact that you would now want to share that with another generation, again, honors the man that did that for you.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And I would encourage anyone to share Brave the Dark with those people. People are saying, oh, there's triggers, you're going to set something off. And people do feel a little bit of anxiety at times. But man, the light at the end, the brightness at the end, the moving forward at the end, the redemptive story at the end is so powerful. And there's so much light and joy. And you just feel so good.
Yeah.
I'll admit, you're going to cry. There's some hard things to deal with. But if you have someone that's struggling in this world right now, get them into the movie theater, get them to see this film.
That's awesome. It's on brand for me to cry pretty much at anything.
Right.
People that listen know that. So it wouldn't be very hard for me to do that, but I guarantee I will, I'm sure, shed more than a few tears. But knowing and having just the honor to speak to you personally is going to make that even more special for me because I know how it ends.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And again, I'm very proud of you. It's incredible what you're doing. It's incredible with the foundation. And honestly, I pray for the foundation and those that may find healing or whatever it may be that they're looking for through it in his honor and in the honor of your story. It's incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. You can, and the film will be out. Do you know how long it'll have a run? Is it based on how it does?
If we get more people out to see it, it'll stay in the theater longer. It's an independent film. It's not getting pushed as hard as some of those bigger films. But it's really worth seeing. I don't think there's a negative comment. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 93% positive. So again, don't be turned off by the heaviness of some of it.
Sure.
I'm a true believer that in order to show the light, you got to show the darkness where it came from. And I, to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people are aware of how many children are suffering in this world, who are going without lunch at lunchtime, who are living in their cars with their parents because they're homeless. And if we don't show it, they're not going to know how to help or want to help. And I believe that there's so many good people out there that if they knew that these things are actually out there happening, that they'd want to help and would help. Yeah. So just so much light in this film. So don't be afraid of some of that darkness.
That's right.
Because I think you'll look at people differently, because you'll say, what's that guy going through? Instead of saying, or just passing him off. We pass each other so much nowadays and we don't even give a hello anymore. We're so center focused. You don't even know how much a small deed, an act of kindness can go along.
That's right. And you might even have your antennas up a little more, to your point, because we do get so focused on our own world or our apps on our phones. We don't see people outside of their reels and their made for apps life. We don't see them as they probably need to be seen, and maybe even crying out to be seen, to your point.
Yeah.
Incredible, man. It's just, I look forward to seeing it. And then the other thing I would say too is you've mentioned that it's a dark. Have you opened Netflix lately?
No, I know.
For some reason, it's filled with, and so I think there's a part of society that maybe wants that. Maybe, I don't know. But so anyway, I wouldn't apologize for it being that, because I think consumers, there's a lot of very dark. And unfortunately, a lot of those shows don't end with joy and light, as you have talked about.
There's not darkness just to glorify darkness or any of that.
Right.
Like, we're not trying to say drug use is good, or like all of the things that are experienced in this film are real things that happened to me and are happening to young kids across the country today, probably. And I'm a firm believer that if you get to know someone's story, if you actually sit down and talk with someone that maybe you dislike or don't even, you're not going to hate them. You're going to like them, actually. You're probably going to form a bond. If you actually just sit down at lunch and just say, dude, where are you coming from? I don't understand you. What's going on? Can we just talk about things? I'm telling you, I do it all the time. I met a young guy on the plane. He had the hoodie up and his ear things in, and he sat there for 3 hours on an 8-hour flight, not talking, not even getting out of his seat, not like just completely absorbed. And I made sure before I left that we had a conversation, and it was amazing. And he had a great story. And I think he was pleasantly surprised by the conversation that we had.
Awesome.
And I encouraged him to open up to others. Don't be a shell. Don't hide in your shell.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just excited to see what this film will do moving forward. And looking forward to all that's to come.
That's right. And I'm excited to see it as well. See not just the film, but see what's born out of the film in the future. And I'd love to just follow stories and follow up with you again and just find out how, because I'm sure you're going to be flooded with story after story that will come back to you. And again, all those things will honor your story and Mr. Deen's. So incredible, man. Incredible.
Awesome.
I look forward to it. Angel.com. Angel Studio. Just Google Angel Studios. You'll find it, and it's in theaters now. And I look forward to following up with you again here soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Unscripted Podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad, from his studio in Old Hilliard. Make sure to like, share, follow, and review on your favorite podcast platforms. Also, make sure to check out my song Great and Mighty One on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your music. We'll see you next time on Unscripted with Aaron Conrad.